Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're about to go on a pretty incredible journey. We're not traveling across continents, but to a place far more complex and a lot smaller than a single grain of sand. We're going inside the living cell. So, let's start with a big question. Think about it. What really separates a rock from a redwood tree? Or you from the chair you're sitting on? What is that spark, that thing that we call life? Well, the answer starts right here. You see, all life is a system, and the fundamental unit of that system, the basic building block, is the cell. Now, don't just picture a simple blob. I want you to imagine a bustling, microscopic city, a self-contained metropolis where every single structure has a vital job to do. All right, so let's pull out the map of this city and take a look around at the main districts. In biology, we call them organelles, and each one is essential for keeping the city running. And what's so cool is how perfectly this city analogy fits. You've got the nucleus, which is basically City Hall, holding all the DNA blueprints. Then you have ribosomes, the factories, an endoplasmic reticulum that acts like a highway system, and mitochondria, the power plants, generating energy for everything. It's all this incredible, coordinated chaos, protected by a border patrol we call the cell membrane. And here's a perfect example of all that teamwork in action. Let's say the cell needs to make a protein. First, the instructions are sent from City Hall, the nucleus. They go to a factory, a ribosome, where the protein is built. Then it's shipped along the highway system and finally packaged up at the Golgi post office to be sent wherever it's needed. It's a flawless production line. Okay, next up, let's head over to the edge of the city, to that border control. Because how the cell manages traffic, what comes in and what goes out, is absolutely critical to its survival. So this is the key. The cell membrane isn't some static brick wall. The really important phrase here is selectively permeable. Think of it like a smart border with gates and guards. It's a flexible barrier that actively decides what gets visa and what gets turned away. Now, for a lot of things, crossing this border is actually pretty easy and doesn't cost any energy. One way is called diffusion. That's just when particles like oxygen naturally move from a crowded area to a less crowded one. And then there's osmosis, which is just a special kind of diffusion, but only for water. Water moves across the border to try and balance out the concentration of other stuff, like salt. Okay, but this balance is everything. Everything. So, what happens when our little living city, in this case a red blood cell, finds itself in an environment where that balance is way off? Well, things can get pretty dramatic pretty fast. Let's say you drop a red blood cell into pure water. The inside of the cell is much more concentrated than the water outside. So, through osmosis, water just rushes into the cell, trying to even things out. The cell swells up and keeps swelling like an overfilled water balloon until, pop, it literally bursts. Now this is the sweet spot. This is what we want. When the fluid outside the cell has the same concentration as the fluid inside, water moves in and out at the exact same rate. The cell is stable, it's happy, it's perfectly in balance. But if we go the other way, say into super salty water, now the outside is more concentrated. So all the water inside the cell rushes out to try and dilute the salt water. And the poor cell just shrivels up like a raisin, totally dehydrated and unable to do its job. So we've got the border patrol sorted. Now let's dive into the city's internal economy, all the constant building up and breaking down that powers and maintains everything. This whole complex process has a name: metabolism. And metabolism isn't just one thing, right? It's really two sides of the same coin. On one hand, you've got anabolism. That's the city's construction crew. It uses energy to take simple little pieces and build them into big, complex structures. On the other hand, you've got catabolism. That's the demolition team. It breaks down complex things, like food, to release that energy. But here's a real head-scratcher. To burn sugar for energy, with actual fire, you need temperatures over 400 degrees Celsius. So how on earth does our cellular city do it while staying at a comfortable body temperature? What's the secret sauce? The answer is enzymes. These are the absolute unsung heroes of the cell. They're biological catalysts. What that means is they make chemical reactions happen millions of times faster than they normally would, all without getting used up themselves. They make life's chemistry possible. This chart shows their magic trick perfectly. See, every chemical reaction needs a little push to get started. That's called the activation energy. Think of it as a huge hill you have to push a boulder over. Well, an enzyme doesn't push harder. It just dramatically lowers the height of the hill, making it way, way easier for the reaction to happen. So how do they pull off this incredible molecular feat? Well, it all comes down to being a perfect fit. And this is the secret. It's called substrate specificity. An enzyme that breaks down starch won't even look at a protein. It's because each enzyme has a uniquely shaped pocket, called an active site, that is perfectly shaped to fit only one specific molecule, like a key fitting into a lock. And here's the best part. They're the ultimate reusable tool. A molecule locks in, the reaction happens in a flash, the products are released, and bam, the enzyme is instantly ready for the next customer. A single enzyme can do its job thousands, even millions of times per second. It's mind-bogglingly efficient. Now, what's truly amazing is that we humans have figured out how to borrow this technology from the living city and use it for ourselves. These little cellular workers are everywhere in our world. I can almost guarantee you have used an enzyme today. They're the power behind the laundry detergent that gets rid of tough stains. They're essential for making things like cheese, kimchi, and beer. They're in digestive medicines, and they're even used in manufacturing to do things like stonewashing your jeans. So when we step back and look at the whole picture, that living city idea, it's not just a cute analogy, is it? It's a real, functional, breathtakingly complex system. Life isn't some single magical spark. It's the result of trillions of these tiny, non-living parts all working together in a perfectly coordinated chemical dance. And that leaves us with one last fascinating question to chew on. If this entire complex city is built from non-living parts that are just following the basic rules of chemistry, at what point exactly does all of that chemistry cross the line and become alive?